Hi, my name is Darnell Saki Dickerson, and I'm going to be answering a few questions to introduce myself. Well, I guess I could say I've been a writer my entire life. Before I actually knew how to write, I would just tell stories. I would just describe. I would be in the car with my grandma and my aunt, and I would just describe at length these characters I'd created and these adventures and these fantasy worlds I'd imagined. And I'm pretty sure at that age it just sounded like rambling. It didn't make very much sense, you know? But it was just something I loved to do. It was something I felt like I had to do for whatever reason. I was compelled to do. And even in preschool, I was known as the kid with the imaginary friends. I mean that's pretty normal for a preschooler, but the way I would just go on and describe these people and their adventures, they weren't really imaginary friends. I wasn't crazy or anything, but these were characters that I'd come up with, and I just wanted to share them. But I'm pretty sure people were like giving me weird looks, you know, even in preschool. But, you know, when I actually learned how to write, that was it. I found my grandma used to keep these yellow legal pads, you know, those notepads around the house. And once I found those and I knew how to write, that was it. I'd filled those up with all these scribbles, all these adventures, stories, and, you know, I just couldn't get them out fast enough. And as I grew older, in my teenage years, you know, writing kind of became an escape for me. I mean, not to say that my life was incredibly hard and, you know, but when you're a teenager, you kind of feel like the weight of the world's on your shoulders. You got to get away sometimes. So that's what writing helped me, you know, survive the teenage years. And around, I want to say, 7th grade, some of my teachers started to notice my writing, and they were like, hey, you know, you've got some potential here, you know, just hone your skill, you know, you got something going. And I took that to heart. And it was around that time, too, that I had heard this quote that's still one of my favorite quotes of all time. That's, if you do something that you love, you'll never work a day in your life. So I took that, you know, I put that in the core of my heart. And I sat down and thought, what is the one thing that I love to do and that, you know, don't want to brag, but that comes easily to me? And that's writing, that's telling stories. So it was around that time that I decided I wanted to be professional. This is what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I wanted to write, I wanted to tell stories, and it was around that time also that I started my first novel, The Dragon. I was about 13. And right now I'm going through the final revisions. It's kind of surreal. I'm going through the final revisions of that. I'm planning to publish it by late next year, late 2013. My original plan, of course, was to have it published when I was 16, but, you know, in all honesty, my skill wasn't there at the time. I would finish a draft and then come back like 2 months later and be like, what is this? I can do better than this now. So I finally feel like my skill has evolved to that point where it's actually presentable. So that's basically my story, how I decided to become a writer, how I became a writer.